Binoy Joseph, Faculty of Social Science, Silver Hills Higher Secondary School. This session is meant for an important concept in geography, 10th standard, about maps. Everybody having certain confusions about maps. Today I am going to show you certain important locations of maps, labeling and identifying the maps, the places which actually been in the focus area for this year's examination. Today I am going to explain about maps of India, mainly concerned with the chapter Diversity of India. Let me begin with the location of India. Now when we are talking about the location of India, we have to know about the longitude and the latitude of our country. It starts from Gujarat 66 degree 7 minutes longitude towards Arunachal Pradesh 97 degree 25 minutes east. This is actually the longitudinal extent. When we are talking about the latitudinal extent, it starts from Jammu and Kashmir, that is 37 degree 6 minutes, and the southern part 8 degree 4 minute latitude. This is all about the location. Now we will move towards the important point of the map. When we are talking about the Indian physiography, it has been broadly classified into 6. Northern mountains, northern plains, deserts, peninsular plateau, coastal plains and islands. Now we are going to study detailed about the location. Now first I want to say the northern mountain ranges. The first point I want to show it to you is the northern mountain ranges. Now when we are talking about the northern mountain ranges, it's been broadly classified into 3: Trans-Himalaya, Himalaya and Eastern Highlands. Now northern mountains being classified into 3. The first classification, the second classification till here, and the third classification here. The third one here, the entire area we call it as a second category, and here the first one. The first classification, the second classification and the third classification. Now when we are talking about the first one, it called it as Trans-Himalaya. The first point here itself, A, it's called it as the Karakoram. It's called it as the Karakoram ranges. This is actually the point Karakoram. Now the second one is the Ladakh. Here it is the Ladakh. And the third one, it's Zanskar. This is actually comprised of Trans-Himalaya. The second thing is the Himalayas. The second thing is Himalayas, and it's been broadly classified into 3. It's been broadly classified into 3. One we call it as Himadri. Here it is the Himadri, the first one. Here we can see the Himadri till here. The second one is the Himachal. The second one is the Himachal, and near to India, it called it as a Shivaliks. This is actually near to India. We call it as Shivalik. These are the 3 important mountain ranges when we are talking about Himalayas: Himadri, Himachal and Shivalik. Now the last physiographical division of Himalaya can be called it as Eastern Highlands. Eastern Highlands, or it is also called as Purvanchal. It is also called as Purvanchal. Now Purvanchal being divided into 4 physiographical divisions. The first one is called it as the Patkai Bum. The Patkai Bum. Then the second one called it as the Naga Hills. The Naga Hills. Then the third one comprised of 3 important physiography mountains. First one is the Garo, Kashi and Jayanti hills. Garo, Kashi and Jayanti hills. And the fourth one is the Miso hills. The Miso hills. This is all about Himalaya. The first one, it's Karakoram. The second one, we call it as the Ladakh. And the third one, the Saskar. The second one, Himadri, Himachal and Shivalik. The second one, Himadri, Himachal and Shivalik. And the third one, it's the Eastern Highlands or Purvanchal, comprised of Patkaibam, Naga Hills, Garo, Kashi, Jayanti Hills and the Miso Hills. This is all about northern mountain ranges. Now we are moving to the second main map. It's all about Himalayan rivers. Himalayan rivers. The main three rivers are the Indus, the Ganges and the Brahmaputra. Indus, Ganges and the Brahmaputra. When we are talking about the Indus, the first river, here is the origination point. We have to know the origin of Indus. It's from Manasarovar. It's from Manasarovar. Here it is the Manasarovar. The second important river, the important river of India, the Ganges, it starts from the Gomukh caves. From the Gomukh caves. This is the origination point, the Gomukh caves. And the third one is the Chemayungdang glacier, the Brahmaputra, Chemayungdang glacier. The Chemayungdang glacier, the Brahmaputra originated. These are the important three rivers. One is Indus, it's from Manasarovar, Ganges from Gangotri glacier, and the third one Brahmaputra from Chemayungdang. Now the third important physiographical division is northern plains. It comprised of from Punjab, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, the entire region, entire northern regions. We called it as the northern mountain plains. It is been created. It's been created due to the continental drift between the Asian plate and the African plate, and it created a huge depth. And after the rivers, after the continuous flows of river, it's been a fertile plain. It's all about northern Great Plains. The fourth point is the different physiography of peninsular India. The difference in the peninsular India. We having three important plateaus. One we call it as the Malwa plateau. The Malwa plateau in between Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra. You people had to identify like this. Then we having the Chota Nagpur plateau. Then we having the Great Deccan plateau. These are the three important places. While we are going for the map, you people had to identify and label. The Malwa plateau, the Deccan plateau and the Chota Nagpur plateau. Now we are having two important peninsulas. One we called it as in Gujarat, on top we called it as the Kutch, K-U-T-C-H, Kutch, that is Rann of Kutch. The Rann of Kutch here, the Rann of Kutch and the Kathiawar. Here we can see the Kathiawar Peninsula. We are having two peninsulas, one on top it's the Kutch, Rann of Kutch, and the second one is Kathiawar. These are the two important peninsulas. Now we are moving towards the mountain ranges here. When we are talking about the mountain ranges, the main one is the Aravalli. Here the Aravalli. Then we are having the Vindhyas, and last it having the Satpura. Now we will move towards the mountain ranges in the center of India. The mountain ranges in the center of India. Mainly we having the first one, the Aravalli. The Aravalli ranges, it's beneath Rajasthan. Then we having the Vindhyas. The Aravalli being parallel to Vindhya. Then we having the Satpura. I will give it to you. The first one is the Aravalli A, V for Vindhya, and S for Satpura. AVS. A, the first one, V for Vindhya, and S for Satpura. These are the three important mountains, and we having one more mountain near to Kerala, Anamudi. We having Anamudi here. Now we will move towards the Peninsula Rivers. Now we will move towards the Peninsula Rivers. Here there are certain important locations of rivers we had to be labeled in the map. The first one is Mahanadi. You can see the Mahanadi. Then here we can see the Godavari. Then we having the Krishna. Then we having the Kaveri. Here two more is there. One is Narmada and Tapti. Now we are having the Peninsula Rivers, mainly the Mahanadi. The Mahanadi in Orissa. Godavari, the longest peninsula river. The longest peninsula river, Godavari. The Krishna in Andhra Pradesh. And Kaveri in Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Karnataka. There are two more rivers. When we are talking about the Peninsula Rivers, two more is there. One is the Narmada. Here we can see the Narmada and Tapti. Narmada and Tapti. These are the major peninsular rivers. Now we will move towards coastal plains. When we are talking about the coastal plains, I want you people to take this like this. Here, the north, the south, the east, the west. Here the north, south, east and west. Now this side, here we call it as the eastern coastal plain. This side we call it as the eastern coastal plain, and this other side we call it as the western coastal plain. We call it as the western coastal plain. Now when we are talking about the eastern coastal plain, it is in between. It is in between the Eastern Ghats and Bay of Bengal. It is in between Eastern Ghats and Bay of Bengal. The width is more when we are comparing to the western coast. When we are comparing to the western coast, the width is more in the eastern coast. It's been broadly divided into two. It's been broadly divided into two. One we call it as the Tamil Nadu coast. We call it as the Tamil Nadu coast or Koromandalam coast. Tamil Nadu coast or Koromandalam coast. The second one is the North Circas. The North Circas coast. Now when we are moving towards the second one, the western coastal line. It is in between Arabian Sea and the Western Ghats. Arabian Sea and the Western Ghats. It's lie in between Arabian Sea and the Western Ghats. When we are comparing to these two things, the width, when we are comparing to the eastern coastal plain, it's less. Now the entire western coastal line being divided into three. It's been divided into three. One we call it as the Gujarat coast. The entire till Kerala, till Mangalapuram, till Mangalore. It called it as the Konkan coast. And the last here, it is the Malabar coast. It called it as the our Malabar coast. The Malabar coast, the Konkan coast and the Gujarat coast. These are the major physiographical divisions of India. These are the important physiographical division of India. Now when we are talking about the coastal plains, it starts from Kanyakumari here. From Kanyakumari, the western coastal line, it starts from Kanyakumari till Rann of Kutch here. Rann of Kutch. It's Rann of Kutch. It starts from Rann of Kutch. Then we are talking about the eastern coastal line. It starts from Kanyakumari till Sundarban Delta. From Kanyakumari to Sundarban Delta. Now, when we are talking about the western coastal plain, it's between Arabian Sea and the Western Ghats. Eastern coastal plain between the Bay of Bengal and the Eastern Ghats. The formation of Rann of Kutch, Kanyakumari, from the Sundarban Delta regions to Kanyakumari. Comparatively narrow, comparatively wide. Can be divided into Gujarat coast, Konkan coast and Malabar coast. Can be divided into North Sirkas and the Coromandalam or Tamil Nadu coast. Lakes and backwaters can be found. Deltas are found in eastern coastal plain. Now this is all about maps. I hope you people enjoyed. Thank you.